Well, for the latest of our best 1 to 11 down through the years, we're joined by Stephen Rice, a man who gave Rovers great service, winning two leagues in 2010 and 2011. Also played, of course, with Bohemians before Rovers and with Longford after Shamrock Rovers as well. Stephen, you had some great years with the Hoops in particular. You know, that 2010, 2011 period was a very special time.
Yeah, it was amazing. I think my most favourite time as a player. I think even 2009, although we didn't win anything, moving to Tala and everything that went with that was just an amazing period of probably 4 or 5 years in total, and something that I'll never forget.
Player of the year as well in 2010. That wasn't bad.
Yeah, that was a really special one for me personally, for many reasons. But obviously being kind of captain in that nice standing from us out in Bray, the first time we'd won the league in so long, and then to pick up player of the year in that season was amazing. And particularly when you've got lads like Twiggy and stuff playing and doing what they were doing, it was great achievement.
Listen, Stephen, just in terms of what's going on at the moment and the lockdown and stuff, how are you coping with all of it? How's it going for you?
Yeah, it's been okay. As I said, I've tried to, from the start, to be as constructive as possible with it and try to turn it into a positive and try to maximise the time that we have where we don't normally have this time. And just finished the pro license last week. I'm halfway through a master's degree in UCD in coaching and science, and obviously I'm delivering webinars now in terms of an online platform for coaches and stuff and that. So I've actually been really busy, and I've actually coaching.
Stephen, you're breaking up again now.
Am I all right there now?
Oh, you're back. Yeah. We just lost you there for a second. But the webinars that you just kind of broke up as you were talking about them, they have been really amazing. Like the amount of people who took up. What was it actually? You might explain to us.
Yeah, so as part of our pro license, we were each assigned a team to study for 18 months. And I was lucky enough to get Belgium, and I said it became, because the system would relate a lot to my own coaching kind of system and philosophy and principles that I took. It became more than an assignment for me, so I really got into the detail of studying them. And I had to do a final presentation for the tutors in the class at the end of the pro license. However, when this pandemic hit, I just kind of looked at it and thought there was something there that people might be very interested in. And I redesigned the whole presentation and made it into a webinar, so for coaches to learn and then for myself to develop and to deliver it to coaches from across the world. I think we've done 3 webinars with 1,200 people registered for each of those webinars from 64 countries across the world, and the people on them included Belgium senior staff, other senior international managers from around the world, and club managers from very high levels. So for me to be able to convey that message is a good learning experience for me as well.
Brilliant. Well, listen, your future as a coach looks very, very bright. Your career in the past as a player was very, very bright as well. So you have a lot of good players to choose from. In terms of your team, what way is it going to be?
Yeah, to fit it in, I went with a 1-3-4-1-2.
Okay, so 3 at the back.
Yeah.
4 and then 1 behind the front 2.
Yeah.
Okay. We start off with goalkeeper.
Yeah, I suppose this was a very difficult one to start, because as I said, I've probably had the privilege to play with what I believe is the 2 best goalkeepers the league has seen, and probably near on 15 to 20 years, in Brian Murphy and Alan Mannis. And Brian, when he was at Bows, was excellent, really top level goalkeeper. And then Alan came into Rovers, and had a very difficult task on his hands when I joined Rovers to take out Barry Murphy and get himself in, and which is a big task. And I think in this case, when I looked at both and overall contribution from when I played with them, I went with Alan Mannis as my goalkeeper. Look, he's the ultimate professional. He's a top goalkeeper. He's a great guy. And what's impressed me most from watching him over the last probably 18 months with Rovers is how he's adapted his game, and how he's adjusted to the style of play at the club, and look at how the game has evolved within the league in the last 10 years since he left and came back. It has evolved greatly in terms of building from the back and having the ability to play with their feet. And I think it's so impressive, and it speaks volumes about Alan and how committed he is to developing. And for that reason, Alan gets my vote for the goalkeeper.
Just in terms of what you were saying there, the style of play, do you think over the course of a decade, it's much different now than it was then?
Yeah, I think the game has changed. I think the younger players coming through obviously they're a different generation. I think the style has become more about the ability to control possession and build up and try to play. And a much bigger emphasis on the physical side of the game in terms of the players are a lot fitter, stronger, and probably Dundalk probably set the marker with that probably in 2014 when they really kind of took it to a new level in terms of strength and conditioning. But in terms of even how the game is played now, you look at probably 50% of the teams in the Premier Division will look to start the game and build it from the back, and it was certainly less so back when we played.
Yeah, interesting that change has come about, and it's a positive change. There's no doubt about it. Back, so I won't say right back. You can.
Yeah, I'll explain it. Yeah, so I'll start with the right side centre back in that, and I suppose a bit of fiddling around to fit in. And the right side centre back I've gone with is Owen Heary. So again, like I played with Owen at Bows, and obviously he's been a phenomenal player at Shells and Bows over the years, and he's won so many titles. But Owen gets the nod for me because, and I think that's something to say about the team that I will pick. It's probably not all the skillful players. Probably a bit to reflect a bit on my own playing style as well. But Owen was certainly somebody that I played for 1 year at Bows, and just how he trained, how he applied himself, his attitude, his application. Was never an unbelievable footballer in terms of technically, but such a good 1v1 defender. And I said it was how he set the example every day, how he trained, how he carried himself. So and it was no surprise, having worked with him for that year, why he had been so successful, and certainly learned a bit from him in terms of from that side of the game.
Could he have made it across the water, do you think?
Yeah, this is an art, because I think at the time when we were there at Bows or just at the Shells, there was talk of an Ireland call-up, and I think Pat Fenlon was pushing for that for him around the time. It's difficult to say, Con. I think he's certainly from, would you be saying maybe Championship or Premier League, but certainly, maybe lower Championship, maybe League One type player. But he had all the characteristics to do that, just in terms of, and Owen was the type of fella that you put him in anywhere and he'd find a way, and that was what I liked about him in training or anything like that. He'd find a way and he'd drive people around him. So I think he could have went there and had a decent career. Probably not obviously at the highest level over there, but certainly in that middle league,
Yeah. Who's your next centre half then?
The next centre half on the left side, I'll go left side and then I'll walk into the middle. On the left side then, so we've Owen right side centre back, Dan Murray on the left side as a left side centre back. And look, Muzz was great, brilliant. In fairness, I knew Muzz was a top player when he was at Cork, but I probably never really appreciated how good he was from just playing against him until you come in and you see that it's not just about his technical ability. Was and probably ahead of his time in terms of how he could build from the back and how he could take the ball under pressure for a centre back, But it was more the aura he brought. It was a real calmness. There was never a panic. He was always talking, good communicator, but just a good guy and really a different type of captain to probably what you would associate with a captain, and just real calm and led with how he took the ball in pressure situations and just constant communication on the pitch. And look, he was technically, for me, one of the best centre backs the league has seen for a long time.
Really, yeah. On a technical level, because I would always have said great leader, great captain, very good header of the balls. Sort of on the ball.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought he was excellent on the ball,
Yeah.
and he was always he would take the ball and he'd play out. And again, he was a big, cumbersome lad, like it wasn't that but he was just so calm and composed in
Yeah.
possession. I think that stemmed from that Cork team where they won that. He was a young guy and was willing. Obviously, in that team were very good, and he got those qualities and brought them to Rovers. I just thought he was really good, particularly stepping into the game, dribbling into midfield areas and pick and pass. And that European run, he was excellent as well, because that really suited him, in terms of taking the ball. And Mose was excellent, but I said more even now for the technical side of things, that's that the aura he had about him, the calmness and the constant communication. And for young players to watch him or to look at him now, and you just see him, he's always talking to someone around him. So he would have been a good one for younger players to be centre backs to look at.
So you've only one more defender in there.
Yeah, and I suppose this one is one from Longford. Well, I suppose, and it's Flinney, Pat Flynn. And look, it's one of them. I think Flinney, for me, he's playing in the middle of the and why I haven't been centre back is that we went to Longford for 2 years, and for me at Rovers never got to see Padjo at his best because he Pat Sullivan and different things in front of him. But what I always knew from training and from when he did play was that he was, for me, one of the best 1v1 defenders in the league. That in training and games is really difficult to. And he could read the game really well. And when we went to Longford, myself, him and Sully, for 2 years, him and Sully played centre back, and so he's just his game understanding. And at Longford, I think he really excelled and showed how good he was. And he was probably unfortunate at Rovers that he was behind, some really good players. He come in, Gerald Boyne was there, and then Sully was there, and different players. But for me, when we went to Longford, I seen it as something that he was really, really good. And look, at that goes without saying. Then his commitment, his attitude is excellent as well. And he texted me. I think he said, we probably don't get into a lot of people's teams, so I think he said he put me in his team or something. So he said, we're not. No, I'm only messing. He didn't text me. I'm only joking. But it's definitely like it, particularly from the Longford times. And look, his to be a player at Rovers for so long and not to play as much as he would have wanted, but yet to come in to train every day, to always have a smile and to train at the intensity train. I think, Pat Sullivan would owe a lot to him for keep pushing him and being after his place. And then, as I said, when he moved on, he done well at Pats, and particularly for that reason, for the 2 years we had together at Longford, as that middle centre back, reading the game and cleaning things up, he would be the middle one for me.
Okay, then you've 4 in the middle. So do you want to start on the right hand side? Or?
Yeah, so we'll move from the right, kind of a wing back type position. So as we just been speaking about, Pat Sullivan, for me, as a right type of wing back, and I suppose again it was one of them, Sully, Heary, 2 really, really top players. But I suppose Sully was more of an attacker. If you think about an attacker, I think when Sully came to Rovers, he was coming from Cork, and I think Cork had just hit some problems, but he was at to been a winger down in Cork, and he was at to been playing all over the place, and he was coming in, and you weren't quite sure. But once he got on the pitch, and he started to, excel, I think at Rovers, I think he went to another level at Rovers in terms of when he got into the team and really put a run of games together. He got an injury in the 4th season, I think, and then with 2011, then with even taking away the goals and stuff, just his general play was just attack wise second to none. And he probably goes against everything that I was as a player in terms of in terms of at times you look at him and you think he couldn't be arsed, but it wasn't the case at all. It's just, he was just so naturally talented, and it did mean a lot to him. It's just, we're all different, but he was a different level when in possession of the football, and so you liked the little sending off as well.
Yeah, he did. But it's also worth saying about him that, you would have thought you scoring against Spurs at White Hart Lane would be the highlight goal of any European campaign, and that goal was outshone by Pat Sullivan's goal in Belgrade. Never, ever, ever, ever be forgotten.
Well, for me, it's the best goal ever scored in Europe by an Irish player. Now I don't know, in terms of lads playing in England and this, that, but for me, I don't think we've ever seen a better goal, Con. And I think obviously, probably if it was in the Premier League or it was in, the group stages of the Champions League, that you will be shown for years to come. And I just think it was a phenomenal strike, and that was only what he could do, And, but on the other side of that, I think that day in Belgrade, obviously we weren't allowed to be. It was so warm that day, and we were all in the staying in our rooms and trying to drink water and do all the right things. And this probably sums Sully up. Like, I kind of went down for a walk at reception, and the heat, I would be sweating everywhere, but just walking down the stairs. So I looked out, and Sully was out outside the hotel sunbathing, just shorts rolled up with a bleeding twister in his mouth, I think. And he's just there, and I couldn't believe, but that, and then he goes that night and puts in a performance like that. But that kind of sums him up, he just had that natural ability, and he's a great guy, obviously, as well, but just that natural ability, and probably, you say, goes against everything, where I would always been prepared in every way, but sure. He just showed me that everybody is different and prepares in different ways.
Do you want to go left side then?
Yeah, we go off to the left. Yeah, we can move from right to left. Yeah, so over to the left side then again. This was one, had a real kind of tussle with this one, because again, been lucky enough to play with some top left side players, and it was a toss up really between Stephen Ward, Ollie Cattle, and Enda Stevens. And it was the three of them that I was looking at, and Wardy was that we joined balls together as two 18-year-olds, and kind of went through the 21s and broke into the first team together. And Ollie obviously came in toward the end at Rovers, 2010, I think he was there 2011, and Enda came in as a young lad and kind of just excelled. And I think when I look at the three of them overall in terms of the impact, particularly at Rovers in this case, I went with Enda for that reason, and just how he's been able to, I suppose, grow as a Premier League player, and a top Premier League player in my opinion, and one of the best left-sided players, in that Premier League. And he's just been able to excel unbelievably. From a young lad coming off the first course in Cabra, I think he was at Patson, and he came into Michael, brought him into Rovers, and a young timid lad, very quiet, and then just kind of once he got on the pitch, he was just he was excellent, and I think coming in under Michael and Trevor probably helped him as well, and kind of Trevor took him under his wing, Trevor Crowley, and really, because probably needed a rock up his ass at times as well, he was a bit laid back, he had that about him, but you can see as he's got older now, he's just excelled, and he's just really come into a top pro. So for that reason, Enda goes in as the left wing back, if you will, in my team. He's just outstanding.
And what he's gone on to do at international, he's nailed on for that position in the international team at the moment now, and he's really done superbly well at Sheffield as well.
Yeah, and I think more importantly than where he is now, it's how he's got there, Con, is more impressive for me. I was absolutely, I seen him actually at the PFA do at the end of last year, and hello.
Yeah. Line just broke there for a second, Stephen. So we're back again after the line broke up there. We still have you, Stephen. So we have Enda Stevens on the left-hand side. You were just talking about how well he'd done at Sheffield United and so on. So that leaves you then with two sort of centre midfield players?
Yeah. Again, there's so many players that could have come into it, but I've kind of gone with more two sitting midfielders of a left footer and a right footer for balance. And I suppose the first player, left-sided sitting midfielder, will be Richie Ryan. For me, technically, I think he was only a year at Rovers.
Yeah.
But my God, in terms of technical ability, game awareness, and he was coming in my position, but you couldn't not see the quality he had. I think he played only, I said, a year at Rovers, but his awareness, his game understanding, and technically, as good as I'd seen in that kind of sitting position and just controlling the game. And I think the Rovers fans will remember would have responded, and I think it was evident for everyone to see, although he was only there a year, how good he actually was. And I think he's in Canada now, in the States, and he's doing really well for himself. But a really a short period of time I played with him, but it was very evident very quick how good he was.
And he, actually, as you say, he's gone on to have a good career in America and in Canada as well.
Yeah, and again, his ability would stand out anywhere. He's one of them very easy on the eye type of players. He was at Arsenal as a young player, so he had that kind of technical upbringing, and I would have played against Richie as a young lad as well through schoolboy and stuff, and always really good. But when he came back to Rovers that year, it really stood out to me that he was a level of probably even above the league, in fairness at the time. And I know he was at Sligo and good times there and stuff, but he was just so good in possession. And again, only a short time played with him, but really impressed me as so much in that year that he would fit in there as to give balance to that midfield.
Yeah, and then the sort of right-footed midfielder centre.
Yeah, another, again, probably predominantly kind of more sitting type of midfielder, and similar to Richie, who's in control of the game, with Kevin Hunt. For me, he probably is the best midfielder I've played with.
Really?
Out of them all, in terms of how we control the game, his position and possession, out of possession. He obviously had a period at Bolger, but in terms of, somebody playing a certain style in an area where that style probably wasn't played a huge amount, and being able to do it so effectively, that position, that pivot player, that six, if you call it, to be able to get on the ball the way he did in a time, and football probably wasn't as freely played as it is now with it across the league. It was so impressive.
Your picture's just frozen again, Stephen. We have you back again, Stephen. And just from what you're saying there, it suggests to me that you think Kevin Hunt would even get on better now than he did, 15 years ago, or whatever it was.
Yeah. And to be able to, and look, he was in obviously very good teams at the time, but I think it was a different era. And he was probably the standout player in that era in terms of playing a certain style, and most teams were just set up to stop that style and disrupt it, and I think if Kevin were playing in teams now, he would be even better with more similar type players around him. And I think that's the thing why Kevin was such a standout for me in an era where, early 2000s, the league probably wasn't as it is now in terms of how teams tried to build the game. He was the one that stood out for me. I went to Bow as a very young lad coming back from England, and he was just a standout in terms of taking the ball in tight scenarios, being able to manipulate the ball, being comfortable protecting it under high pressure, facing his own goal, and having a fantastic game awareness. And he's actually just an absolute gent of a fella as well. I'm sure you've met him a few times. He's a really nice guy. So, but definitely probably the best midfielder I've played with for sure. Yeah.
Right. So who's the one player then that's going to be in behind the front two?
Again, back and forth. There was a couple in for this contender. Gaz McCabe was a contender. Magpie McCabe, we call him, because if there was something going wrong, if there was a bit of messing, if there was a bit of chaos somewhere, the Magpie was never too far from me. So Gaz was unbelievable at Rovers, and he was in with a shout, but I decided to go with Joseph behind the front two. Again, only played for not even a year with Joseph, but I mean,
this is Joseph Endo.
Joe Endo, yeah. Played for a year with Joseph, but you can't, as much as, he's a great character, he's a great guy. Just his ability on the pitch was just frightening, and could do it at such ease. And what I loved about Joseph was he just he just loved the game, and it was like a kick around the park to him, like, you know, like I'd be, you know, stress head running around tackling everything, and he'd be just kind of laughing on the pitch and joking, and he could just turn it on and off at the flick of a switch. Like, he was just an unbelievable guy and an unbelievable player, and it was great to actually play with him, to say that we got the chance to play with him for that short period of time. Like, and it's a pity that Rovers couldn't have kept him for longer, you know.
Yeah, I think a lot of people seem to say that in terms of sort of natural ability, that there were very few who were any better than Endo.
Yeah, the one that would spring to mind, but I was never lucky enough to play with, would probably be Wezzo. You know, Wezzo, when he was at Shells, I never played with Wezzo. But that natural ability to be able to, you know, manipulate the ball in any way he wanted at any time under any amount of pressure, and do things that were just extraordinary. There wasn't many I played with throughout my whole career that could do what Joseph could do. No one, in fact. And I think, you know, the creativity he brought to the league, and people would pay to watch him. And there's not many people, you know, that you would say I'd pay to watch him. Maybe him, and as I said, Wezzo was definitely another one you'd pay to watch, and even probably to a lesser extent that could have been sniffing around. I thought about for that position was Eamon Ben Mohammed. That was at Longford, you know. I thought about Eamon. He's again another one that you would pay to watch, but phenomenal talent. I think he's in Turkey now, or Tunisia, you know.
Well, he went on to get international honours, didn't he?
Yeah, and he's won their equivalent of the Champions League and stuff over there, and he's a superstar over there from what I can see. And again, another one that you would pay to watch, but there's not many of these, you know, over the years that come in the league. But when they come, they're a pleasure. And I said, to play with Joseph, Eamon, and even Gaz and that was great, because they are game changers, they're match winners.
Yeah. By the way, I don't know if you can hear it. There's a bit of banging outside. I think there's painters and decorators outside, and they're
not in my house. I don't know.
It's at my end. So you've only two more players to get in. Two strikers, Stephen.
Yeah, and again, two strikers, and again, there'll be so many that you've played over the years that could have went in, and a couple that just missed out for me. Gary O'Neill was one that just missed out. Naylor's, you know, in terms of hold up play, I've never, again, probably the best link player I've played with. Everyone wanted to be with him in the five-a-sides, because he's just pinned the last man. You could just get it into him, walk off him. Really, really unbelievable. Naylor was one. Paul Devlin, for a period, came to Bowes, was excellent as well. Tony Grant, really, really good lads, top players that probably missed out. And look, there's no great surprise probably in the two that I've picked. But the first one will be Glenn Crowe, from my time at Bowes with Glenn. Look, again, he's, you know, the goals he scored, international recognition, you know, just a quiet, unassuming lad that just scored goals for fun. And as I said, it's broke our hearts a few times as well. Particularly Sporting Fingal game. Him and Gary O'Neill, actually.
Yeah.
I remember, I'll never forget that Fingal game. But you know, in terms of actually taking out, you know, in terms of the clubs and the rivalries, in terms of just you know, out and out centre forwards that had an understanding of how to find space in the box, and just had a desire to score goals. Crowley was probably, I don't know where he is in terms of records, but he has to be up there with the highest scorers, like, you know. And again, just a nice fella, a really good guy.
Again, he got international recognition, albeit not too many caps, but it was a nod in the direction of the talent that he had.
Yeah, I think it was justified when he got it. I think he was scoring a lot of goals, and it was great for the league at the time. But again, you know, I think it was well justified, and it's a pity he probably didn't get more. I know Jay Bourne got a couple of sniffs at it as well, in terms of the international one cap, I think, as well. But just showed the goals that they get to get the recognition at that time. It's more open now, like, and stuff.
Yeah.
But at that time, it probably wasn't as common.
So your last man in the 11, who's it going to be?
Yeah, and I'm probably unbalanced, but I had to stick these two in, and two lefties. It's Twiggy. No great surprise, I'm sure. Yeah. But again, the thoughts of Joseph and Dow with Crowley and Twiggy, behind Crowley and Twiggy, was just scary. Like, although the two of them are lefties, I think they'd probably kill each other to score to be scoring the goals, so that'd be the problem. But yeah, look again, Twiggy needs no introduction. I'm sure he's in everyone's team, anyone who played in that period at Rovers, and not necessarily because of his, because he scored goals. That's it. We said it wouldn't. There's times you wouldn't even know Twiggy was there in most games, and he always worked hard. But those games he just didn't impact. But then he'd pop up and get you goals, and the value of that is just, and even you see it now as a coach, and that the value of someone, it's the hardest thing to do in the game, and the fact that he could do it so easily was unbelievable. We've probably never replaced him since that time, in terms of Twiggy. And he probably, when I look back at it, speaking to someone the other day, you kind of think, what if he had stayed, for another couple of years.
He's so synonymous with that early period in Tala, having scored the first goal in the game against Sligo Rovers, and then just going on like the legendary 2 late goals against Bohemians, his celebrations. He one of those players who became a fan favourite and a club legend straight away.
Yeah, he did, and it's funny because I always remember his very first game. I think we were away to Bray in the league. It was the game before we played the first game in Tala, and we drew up Bray 0 on the first game, which was a big disappointment. And the following week we were home to Sligo, first game in Tala, so all the hype was around that. But I always remember kind of Michael come in after that game. It was Michael's first game, I think, as well. And it was probably second year. But anyways, Twiggy's first game, I think it might have been. And kind of Michael had a right go off him. And, I think something was a powder puff or, something to that effect, like Michael might have said. And I always remember it was me and Twiggy left in the showers at the end, just kind of, and he was heavy. And, you could just see him thinking, what have I done here? Even out in Bray, I think it was lashing, it was windy. Michael has just hammered him the first game, and you could see that he was thinking, what have I, kind of just the two of us looking at each other. So, and then obviously, once he got moving, once that goal went in against Sligo, but it was evident even in pre-season, in fairness, he came in pre-season and started scoring goals, 2 on loan in his first game, if I remember, in a friendly. And he just had it, he has something that, when you talk to young players now about trying to improve them, you have to love scoring goals. And whether that's, walking past the ball on the street and hitting it in the net, or, he'd be just at the net, booting the ball in the net. If there's an idle ball lying around, he'd run over, he'd nick a ball off you when you're just walking somewhere and just put it in the net, and run off celebrating. That it's just that love of scoring goals. And look, he's a great guy as well. And but what he had is probably something. Can you coach it? It's difficult. You coach his movement, you can coach it, but just that knack and that calmness, composure in front of the goal was something that was why he made him a fan's favourite. And probably something that goes unnoticed about Twiggy is how hard he worked. You watch the games back, he's always, we were quite a defensive team. We weren't free flowing at times, but he had to do a lot of doggy work on his own, or donkey work on his own, pressing fullbacks, pressing centre backs, and he was just back and forth all the time. So he did work. His work rate was unbelievable as well, and he got his rewards on the back of that, But a great guy as well, and look, justifiably so. I think he epitomises the Tala era. He is that kind of first 5-6 years in Tala, and I'm sure he'll be forever remembered at the club.
No doubt about it. I still hope at some point in the future he's back in some sort of coaching capacity, because I think that desire to score goals that you talk about, if he could transfer that to young lads coming through, and just he'd be great,
and because he's a clever guy as well, so that kind of teaching people and stuff, I think he'd be well able for it. But to give players like you look at someone like Dean Williams and stuff, in terms of Dino's movement, you can see shades of how he moves and how he plays blindside and just pops up in areas which relates a lot, kind of how Twiggy. But so if you had Twiggy working with these players as well, as well as the lads are doing, obviously, the good work at the moment, it'd be brilliant to have him back someday.
Well, listen, it's a great 1 to 11, Stephen. Just before we let you go, we're talking about club legends, and during this lockdown, a number of supporters very sadly have passed
Yeah.
and only this week, Big Deck, who was a
Big
very
Deck,
famous Rovers fan, sadly died and will never be back in Tala again. And I must say, it makes me very sad to think that some of these great supporters aren't going to see the team play again. And we're all
Yeah.
keen to get back, you know.
You know, first it was Anthony McDonald. Obviously was the first one, and I always have such fond memories of Anthony, particularly with his young daughter Quiva at all the games, and such great people. They were first there, last to leave. Anthony was such a gent, such a Rovers through and through, and then and kind of I seen that, and I was in such shock when I'd seen that, and then obviously a real hammer blow then as well on over last week with Big Deck. Like, you know, these people are, you know, the foundation of the club, and they've done unbelievable work for the club over the last how many years. And you know, I think when we do get back, hopefully to football sooner rather than later, and I've no doubt the club will, because it's ingrained that we make sure that, you know, these great people get obviously you know, that kind of send off they deserve. But it certainly won't be the same without going to a game and seeing Big Deck or seeing Anthony there first and leaving last. And you know, they're all ingrained in Tala and in the club. And as I said, it's really difficult. But as I said, I think when football comes back, hopefully we can give them that kind of send off that they deserve.
Sure. Well, they've left their mark. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
These players that you've picked have left their mark as well. It's a great team. And Stephen, it's great talking to you. Thanks for sticking with us with those couple of little breakdowns. Really appreciate it. Very best of luck in the future as well, Stephen.
Thanks a lot, Con. Best of luck to you too. Take care.
We'll talk to you soon, please, God. Thanks a million.
Thanks, Con. Take care.
Bye.